So this one's going to be about Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi, and it is a really, really, really good book, and also especially just because we went through a really good book yesterday as well, and this is kind of the following one, in terms of like, it is kind of the same topic, or it is quite a similar topic, or actually it is the same topic, and therefore it's just an amazing book, but there's gonna be more after the intro. As always, always the exact same shit, but I actually have to laugh. Like, it is not like I'm acting like I'm laughing. It is actually the case. But yeah, with that being said, hello, welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. And I'm really looking forward to going through this episode just because I know that it is a pretty good book. Or I'd also just at least hope that you also think that it is a good book, but I think it is a really good one. And also the information is just pretty good, even though I have to say once again that these things that we're gonna go through today, these are not things that you're going to be like, well, it is something completely new. I never ever have been able to think about that and all those things. You're going to be like, well, it just makes sense. It just makes sense because all of these things just make sense. It's not going to be necessarily something that's going to be revolutionizing your whole thinking. It maybe will be, but not just because it is new information, just because you're kind of thinking about it once again. You kind of get a reminder on, okay, this is actually the case. But before we even go through the episode, there's 3 things that I'm willing to talk about. The first thing is, if you're willing to listen to this, the first link is to the podcast. The second link is to the notes. The notes are basically like a PDF of kind of the summary of the whole thing. Like, it is a summary of the whole episode. So if you do not really feel like going through a 30-minute episode, then please just have a look at the notes. Maybe it is just enough to understand the whole topic. And the third one is add music. If you're willing to add music to the whole video and also to the podcast, if you're on the podcast, then please check out the third link. But yeah, let's go through it, So, as you can see on the left side of the screen, we are on the paulminers.com site. And the site is always going to be in the description and also in the show notes if you're on the podcast, but it is also going to be in the PDF, so in the notes basically. And it is a relatively long summary, but just because I have been able, as you can see there, to just highlight certain parts, I've been able to just compromise it even more to just get everything out of it, as fast as you possibly can, or as fast as I possibly can, in terms of like, okay, you might be able to go through this, maybe in 10 minutes even. I hope that I actually hope that I'm not gonna just take too long going through this. If I'm actually too just slow with it, just please have a look at the PDF and then just go through it on your own. And if there's something that you kind of just don't understand and whatnot, then coming back to the video is probably a pretty good idea. But let's move through it. Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi is a guide to establishing and managing some of the most important relationships in your business life. And like, to maybe a little bit of an introduction might be quite good, I would say. So who is the summary for? The summary is a great read for just about anyone who works. Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi is a guide to establishing and managing some of the most important relationships in your business life. These relationships can be used to open up new doors and opportunities, achieve great success and reach your goals. Ferrazzi emphasizes the importance of networking, meeting new people and reaching out to people beyond your usual social circle. About the author. American Keith Ferazzi is an author and the CEO of Ferrazzi Greenlight. I do actually, by the way, hope that I'm just pronouncing his name the correct way, because I'm not quite sure about that. I actually think that I'm just pronouncing it the wrong way, but, it is what it is sometimes. Ferrazzi Greenlight, a research and consulting firm, probably for PR things. I guess it is actually for PR things, but I'm not quite sure. I think I have had a look at his Wikipedia page, but it might have also been the author of last day's book. So I'm not quite sure, but it's probably going to be about the same thing, basically, I assume at least. Consulting firm. Ferrazzi attended Yale and Harvard Business School. Never Eat Alone was a New York Times bestselling, as was his other book, Who's Got Your Back? And just by the title, I kind of also assume that it is kind of like the exact same topic or the same topic. It might not be the exact same thing, but yeah. So the book summary. The part 1 is the mindset. First of all, there's going to be quite a lot of things that are going to be about self-development and motivation and all those things, which is something that's not necessarily bad, because it is just as well eye-opening to some degree. For some people, at least, it's definitely going to be eye-opening, but for some people, it's going to be just a quick reminder. Once again, okay, well, if you're just willing to do this, maybe you should just be focusing on this and not on that, just because it is actually a pretty great way to just get yourself on the right path once again, because through living and through life, which is kind of distracting sometimes, we kind of tend, at least in my point of view, to just not see the path sometimes, or just not be on the path sometimes, just because it is so distracting. So let's see. Success in any field, but especially in business, is about working with people and not against them. Ferazzi explains that things such as intelligence, talent, education, or where you came from are important, but without the support of other people, these things mean nothing. When striving to reach goals, you can't get there alone. I'm first of all not quite sure about the part like you can't get there alone. You might be able to do that. Like, of course, if you're just really highly intelligent and if you do just have a really, really good thing and a really good idea that you also just are able to do something with, then yeah, okay, you might be having just actually big opportunity for doing something on your own. Of course. Just by thinking of people like Elon Musk, also Patrick Collison and John Collison, a lot of people have been founded or have been founding just companies with a partner. I've often seen that and I've often wondered like why? Why haven't they just been doing it themselves? But I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense because it is a lot of work. And having two people is going to be just double the amount of workforce, basically, or it's going to be half for everyone, or each of them. And when we're talking about PayPal, I guess, they have just founded it with a few people, as far as I know. Not quite sure. Maybe they founded it with two, but in the end, it's been like just a lot of people that have been in the just quote-unquote CEO position because there's going to be one CEO, but a lot of people have been just in really high positions there, like the PayPal mafia, if you just know what I'm referring to. Yeah. The thing is, it does make sense. It just really makes sense to found a company with somebody else just because without somebody, it's going to be a lot of fucking work. It's going to be way more work than just being alone or just being just two guys or three women or four women or whatever you might think about or whatever it might be all about. It's going to be just better. But in the end, which is the most important part there is that it is about people. And the thing is, it is kind of an interesting thing that such a lot of people are just neglecting to see that maybe, or are just not seeing that because people are just the variable in every single company. Unless you're just having a company that is just slowly or solely running through AI, you're just actually having to really cope with people. Well, cope might be a little bit negative, but you have to work with people in the end. It is what it is. There's always going to be people. Whether you are in a client business, there are going to be people. Whether you're just having a product, well, let's talk about the factory. There might also be some people. Let's talk about the customers. There are also people. Just being able to work with people and maybe also work for people, if you're thinking about the relationship between customer and or just businessman or factory or just producer or whatever it might be, it just makes sense in the end. The economy is people driven. At this point in time, of course, this might be changing in the near future through AI and through robotics and through whatever it might also be about. But it is just really important to see that often it is just about people, and being able to work with people is going to be a trait that is just extremely important. And it is also one of the reasons why going through this book and also the other book that we went through yesterday is such an incredibly important thing to do, at least in my point of view. The most successful businesses are run by people who have a strong network of relationships with other people. Ferazzi explains that the basics of business is always going to be people selling to other people. Whether it is B2B, of course you're going to talk to other people. You're not talking to a fucking business, you're talking to another person. Might be the CEO, might be a manager, might be the CFO, whoever it might be. I don't actually know. It's probably not going to be the CFO, by the way. I guess. Not quite sure about that. But it is just, you're going to be working with somebody else. It is what it is. Business is a human enterprise driven and determined by people. Networking, which is helping other people be more successful, it is about giving as much as it is about taking, which is an incredibly important point because networking, as a lot of people might be thinking about it, is something like, okay, I'm going to talk to some people and I'm just trying to get the most out of them as I possibly can. Of course, in the end, it is that, exactly that. But if you're focusing on just giving a lot to other people, you're first of all just not going to have such a stigma around for yourself and also for other people, because other people are going to notice. Other people are going to notice if you're just only talking to them just because they're having a lot of just people they know, or they're having a lot of money, or they're having a company, or just whatever reason it might be. And people often notice these things. And the thing as well is, you're also going to be able to just live long-term or just have a long-term connection with this person, just because if you're really focusing on giving and giving to this person, you're basically guilting them into just giving back something to you, whatever it might be. It might be even something that's way bigger and way more than you have given them. Maybe, just because you've given them so much over just decades and years and whatnot, it just makes sense. It really does. And it is also just nicer, by the way. It is just nicer, Only focusing on oneself and only focusing on what can I get out of this relationship. I can understand it. And I can also understand why people are thinking that way But I mean, like, thinking about other people is just something that feels nice. And you also feel nice. And you also just seem to be nice for yourself as well. Like, maybe you're gonna admire yourself a little bit more through just giving a fuck about other people and giving a fuck about their success and not only your success. Ferazzi explains that you need to stop keeping score. Sometimes all it takes is putting someone in contact with someone else who will be useful to them or providing some of your own time and expertise. In terms of like, okay, I'm going to give something to him and therefore I'm going to just note down, okay, I'm going to get something from him as well. Yeah, I mean, like, of course, people are going to maybe do this subconsciously, just because we are often our matchers. Please look it up. Adam Grant is, if I remember correctly, Givers, Takers and Matchers, or Give and Take, the book is called. This is a pretty good one. There's a bunch of summaries out there, and I've also been talking about it on the podcast for, I think, like, it's probably been like 2 hours or something. Not in a row, but just in videos, like, but yeah. Don't keep score. Like, it just makes sense, I would say. Understand that the more people you can help, the more people will be willing to help you. Which is like, okay, focus again on the other people, focus again on helping the other people, focus again on doing something for them rather than just only focusing on yourself and focusing on doing something for yourself by doing something for them, which is also something that a lot of people are going to default into. Just focus on them. Just focus on their success. Just focus on making them successful and giving something to them. You're going to feel amazing. Like, imagine how you're going to feel if you're able to really put somebody on a pedestal in terms of like, okay, you're able to give somebody a really great job or a really great opportunity just because of your connections. Just because you have seen that this person that you might be talking to is just a really great fit for the other person that you've been talking to yesterday. It just is good, It is good for both of them. And it's probably also going to be good for you in the real end, People are going to talk about that probably. Trust. The best way to do this is by asking what you can do for other people and not asking what they can do for you. Because trust is definitely something that is important. Because of course, if you're meeting somebody first time, they are not necessarily going to trust you just 100%. But if you're just giving something to them without asking for anything, then of course they're going to trust in you. And of course they're going to be like, well, I'm going to take this. Of course, I know sometimes you're going to just be then in a really fucked up position just because they're not really thinking about giving something to you. In terms of like, okay, this is a nice person, so I'm just gonna take everything that I can take from him, but I'm not gonna give him something. Of course, you're gonna meet such people as well, but yeah, we don't know. We don't know beforehand. We only can just assume afterwards, I would say. Find your passion, which is the first point there in goal setting. Find your passion. It is a pretty good one. Find your passion. The first step in figuring out your goals is to understand what your real dreams are. Don't worry about obstacles such as time or money. What do you really want to achieve? If you aren't sure, ask the people you know who know you the best for ideas. So what is your passion? Maybe ask your mother. Maybe ask your mother what you've been doing just your whole life long. In terms of like, okay, from 1 to 6 or from 6 to 10. What have you been doing that all the fucking time? Because most often there is gonna just be something that you have been doing for quite some time in this period of time, or when you've been just this age, just because we all have been doing some things, and we all have been having some things that we just liked so fucking much that we have been just doing it the whole day long. Whether it is playing video games, which definitely has been the case for me, or playing soccer, which definitely has been the case for me, but also other things. Like, there's gonna be a lot of things that you might just have been looking forward to doing, There's going to be something. So ask your mother, ask your father, ask your brother, your sister, whomever, your uncle, your grandmother. Of course, ask all of them. The second one is putting goals to paper. The next step is to compile a list of things you would like to achieve over the next 3 years. Ferazzi recommends you work backwards, like yearly increments, then monthly, and then probably also daily, and or just weekly as well. Even though I guess if you're going to be like, well, I'm going to have a second, or I'm going to have a goal for every second, I don't know if this is going to just really make you very productive if you're doing something like that, or if it is just stressing you out as fuck. It could also be the case. This will help you develop short-term goals that will help you reach your overall long-term goals, which just makes sense. Having just goals makes sense. It really does. The third one is create a personal board of advisors. The final step involves finding a group of people who will be able to support you and hold you accountable. Consider these people to be your mentors and also friends. Yes, but even though it kind of sounds funny to just say, okay, consider these people to be your friends. Like, you're just choosing some people, but because they're just on your board of advisors, which is actually a pretty cool word, and just thinking about it is something pretty cool. But yeah. Your goals must be specific, believable, challenging, and demanding. These are the 3 things, or 4 things, I guess. I'm not quite sure there. that Ferazzi says that you should be looking out for in goals. The networking tricks. Ferazzi explains that you need to build your network before you actually need it, which is, if you're thinking about it, it just makes sense. It just makes sense that you're going to build your network before you need it, just because then if you are in a position where you actually need a network, you need some people that are hopefully going to help you, then you're going to just take your hand, put it into your pocket, just choose your mobile phone, you call somebody, whatever it might be, whomever it might be, and you're asking this person because you know that this person is having something that you are in need of at this point in time. It is something like planning. You're planning it forward for the future, But if it is like, okay, I'm just in need of some person right now, are you then going to be able to just meet somebody just all of a sudden in terms of like, okay, I'm quickly going to just meet somebody and this person is then going to help me? Yeah. Is he doing this? Absolutely fucking no. Why? Because you're strangers. And I don't know if you would be helping just some random stranger. Probably not. But if you're having somebody, then you're already having a network. Even if it is just a really old friend, if you know that this person might be able to help you and that you have also helped this person, which I think is also a pretty good thing to have done, I guess. If you do just know that you have helped the other person, I would say. The great myth of networking is that you start reaching out to others only when you need something like a job. In reality, people who have the largest circle of contacts, mentors and friends know that you must reach out to others long before you need anything at all. So don't be a networking jerk, and these are the 5 things or maybe even more things to not be a networking jerk. Don't schmooze, whatever schmooze actually means, but I'm gonna look it up. I wonder what the German translation there is. It's probably going to be just like, yeah, okay, there is no German translation. Well, thanks a lot there. Talk intimately and closely or cozily. Gossip. We smooze or schmooze about New York or what she misses. Never ever gossip or believe gossip. Never show up empty-handed. Treat everyone as equal, which is something that's incredibly important. Be transparent and be genuine. Doing your homework before you meet any new people also just makes sense, as he also pointed out. Like, there's a lot of really important key ideas there. And the thing is, I really am happy about the fact that I've been able to just really compress these things even more. It's pretty amazing. Like, you do actually have to go through the PDF and then that's quite it. You're probably having kind of the key ideas of the whole book in your fucking mind. And it is just, of course, this is not the exact same thing as the book is. I do not want to compare them and I can't compare them because the book is going to be just a completely different fucking experience. Completely. Because it is longer, it is different, it's just having a different flair, a different feeling to it. It's just feeling differently if you're just reading a book rather than or compared to reading a fucking summary of something. It just feels different. So do your homework. It just makes sense. Do your homework. Just know what the person is all about. Know what the person is doing. Know whatever. Whatever might be important for you to know about the person. It just makes sense to think about it. It just really makes sense. And why aren't the buttons not working? Never mind. It is what it is. Cold calls and warm calls. Cold call is always going to be difficult just because the person doesn't know you and it is just like you are a stranger to him and this person is also a stranger to you. Yeah. The best way to make a cold call is to plunge right in and don't hesitate. Warm up the cold call by establishing a sense of credibility. So find a mutual friend, which is actually a pretty good idea. Find a mutual friend or acquaintance and then get your message across in a quick and concise way. I think it is actually a pretty good idea. And I've also kind of seen that. Like, I've seen it on the Tim Ferriss podcast when Tim Ferriss actually said, like, okay, we're having this mutual friend and I'm so happy that he introduced us to each other, into each other, whatever. I don't know. And I think it is just a pretty good idea because you don't know him and he doesn't know you, but you know the person that knows him. In terms of, like, there is just some sort of a connection, First of all, like, if you're just complete strangers, there's no fucking connection. Unless you just talk to each other and you kind of find out that you're brothers and whatnot. But on the other hand, it is like there is just some sort of a connection. And it just is a pretty good thing, as I'm thinking about it. Assistants and secretaries who seem to get in your way, the key is to have these people on your good side. Which is something that is also just something that just makes sense. The thing is, a lot of people that are quote-unquote famous or quote-unquote really successful, they're having somebody to just manage certain things, whether it is a secretary or whether it is just something else. But being on a side or just being good with the secretaries and being good with the people that are just managing their life, the manager, whatever, is always going to be a good thing because they are managing things. The assistants, the secretary, they are doing these things. They have the power to get you in touch with the right people. Appreciate and acknowledge their help, of course. Always be appreciative and always be just acknowledging their help and their work, and always be genuine and always just say thank you. I think it is just a really important part there, just saying thank you. It is not something really big, but still it is something, unfortunately, that some people seem to be forgetting about. Never eat alone. Keeping your social calendar full makes sense. You don't want to slip off the radar and become invisible. By never eating alone, just always having somebody, let's just talk about it as... Yeah, I do not want to necessarily say that that Ferazzi said that you should always be having somebody to eat with, but it makes sense. Like, it is a quick thing. Just, let's go on dinner or let's go just on lunch and let's talk about some things. It makes sense to just keep your social calendar full, to build your just network first of all, and also to just quote unquote save your network. In terms of like, when you're just not meeting with somebody for just a pretty long time, you're gonna miss the connection and all those things. Like, it's gonna be not good for the connection. It's not gonna be good for the network. So it makes sense. I'm actually relatively slow today, I guess. Might be just doing a little bit faster. So follow up or fail. In such a fast-paced digital world, it is incomprehensible that only a small percentage of us decide to follow up once we've met someone new. It makes sense, Always. I don't actually know why it makes sense. First of all, I do not really think that the person is going to forget about you and you're going to forget about the person. I think it's just going to be like, if somebody's not following up on you, it's going to be like either the person is not really into this in terms of like, okay, maybe it is, or he or she is anxious about it, or fear is doing something like that just because it's like, I don't know, something, I don't know. But I think... but actually, as he says, when you meet someone with whom you want to establish a relationship, take the extra little step to ensure you won't be lost in their mental attack. I'm not quite sure about that though. As I said, I don't think that the person is going to forget about you, at least not just immediately. But of course, following it up like, okay, it's been a pretty good time. I really hope that we're going to see each other once again and whatnot. Makes sense. Maybe also in terms of like, which is something that I don't know where I've just having this from, but then just referring to something that you have been talking about in this conversation is staggering for the other person, just because the person then knows that you have actually giving a fuck about whatever you have been talking about. Whether it's been cars, whether it's been whatever, just reference that. Maybe something funny, maybe something like, okay, a funny moment or something that you both knew or whatever it might be. I don't fucking know. Just reference something and they're gonna know that you know what you have been talking about with him or with her. Good thing, do good thing. You should follow up with them between 12 and 24 hours. Conferences and connection. Conference is to meet like-minded people. These are the people who will help you and be able to offer advice. So a good step to do this is to meet people there is help the organizer or be the organizer. Listen to everyone, speak up, know who you need to talk to before you arrive, which is also going to include some research. Again, when it is break time, you need to be networking. Follow up with everyone you meet. A conference isn't about the speakers, but the people who are attending. The best way to do this is to connect your inner circle with someone else's circle. This way you double the amount of people, which is just a really great way to expand your network even faster. By just connecting with other people's circle. It's a good thing. Don't have a closed network. Ensure that your network is fluid and open, so always welcome new people in. Small talk. The importance of being yourself, even to being vulnerable, can be very effective. The key is to share information. This brings more power than withholding information ever can. At least, maybe you're going to think like, well, I'm not going to talk about my new business idea to this person, which I'm actually not saying that you should be doing, by the way, but it's actually a good reference point there, at least my point of view. The thing is, still, if you're just talking about some vulnerabilities, just some maybe even relatively personal things, there is going to be a connection and it feels like, okay, you're trusting this person and what, like it just, I don't know. Like, I do not want to say that you should just be talking about your life story and whatnot. Maybe also not going to be the best thing. It also depends on the person though. Like, you're going to notice if somebody is just willing to talk about you about everything or just about some specific things. It is important that you understand their mission, which is about turning connections to compatriots. When figuring out someone's mission and motivation, the three main places to look are making money, finding love, or changing the world. Success. You should focus on how you will make everyone else successful and not how you are going to be successful. To have plenty of information to offer, lots of useful contacts and goodwill. By the way, I just really enjoy, if I'm if I would be able to just have a lot of following or a big following on, for example, Instagram or whatever social media network it might be, it just always feels so good if I'm able to just share some things that some people in my class are doing. Like I've recently did that, and I'm always feeling how grateful these people are, even though like not a lot of people are seeing my stories, unfortunately. Still, it is something that I just like to be doing, to just have the power of, okay, I can be just putting somebody on a pedestal if I want to. And of course, if this is somebody that I know, and if it is also something that I think is just done really well, of course I'm also gonna do that. It just is an amazing thing how much you could be doing with that. You could actually start a whole entire career for somebody. Because being recognized and getting recognized online is not always just gonna be something that's that easy. At least not just that quickly. The best sort of connection occurs when you can bring together two people from entirely different worlds. The strength of your network derives as much from the diversity of your relationships as it does from the quality or quantity. Or quantity, which is actually a pretty good point. Or quantity is not quality over quantity. Pinging. Pinging is quick, a casual way to stay in touch. The key to maintaining a healthy relationship is to remain in regular contact. Yes, there is grunt work involved. Pinching takes effort, takes the tough part. You have to keep pinching and pinching and pinching and never stop. You have to feed the fire of your network, or it will wither die. Or die. Wither, die. Trading up and giving back. A personal brand does three important things. The first one is provides provides an identity that is trustworthy and credible. Sends a message to your contacts, yes. Attracts more people to you and allows you to stand out. Always. Online, offline, good idea. Having a personal brand is always going to be something good, no matter fucking what. Develop a personal branding message. Remember that we are all visual people, so you need to look professional. It depends. It makes sense though. Yeah. Ferazzi explains that you need to be your own PR representative, manage your own media and know the market. Manage your own media, and guess what, where you can do that? Yes, on social media. Power. Ferazzi explains that you need to make sure you are reaching out to the right kind of people. People who have power and influential and will be able to make a difference in your life. He calls this power by association. I'm not going to go through the whole one there, but the goal there is to just making these people to your mentors. But the thing is, like, these people, they're just having a lot of power in terms of, okay, they're having a big network, they are really rich, they are really famous, they can put you on and whatnot. Of course, is it going to be easy to just connect to these people? Not necessarily. Of course, if you're having a big network and a high network, it might be possible, or it is probably also going to be possible, but what are you able to give them is the question. What can you give them? Will they just do everything for you for free? I wouldn't necessarily say so. Like, it depends on the person though, of course, but something that's very important as well is to just not forget about these people that are not these power users or power people in your life. Just really also care about the really small people, quote unquote. Like, it actually sounds really, really wrong here. Yeah, just don't forget about them. The key takeaways. It is important to be prepared when meeting new people, so do your research. Always be networking, don't keep score. It is not about what people can do for you, but what you can do for them. Conferences are important not for the keynote speakers, but for the people who are attending the conference. Work on the art of small talk. Aim to be interesting, so leave people wanting more. Stay in touch with your contacts. Create your own personal brand. Follow up after you've met someone within 24 hours. Find a mentor or have your own mentees, and reach out to powerful and influential people. And then there is nothing. So yeah, we're already 32 minutes in. I hope it's not that of a bad thing that I've skipped one part there. It is going to be just about the key takeaways. So if you're just having a look at the site itself, or if you're having just a look at the notes, you're going to see that, like, everything between manage your own media and know the market and key takeaways. It's going to be what I've left out just because of time reasons, even though it's like just not that much. Maybe I should just go through it. There's nothing wrong with looking for ways to spend time with people who have accomplished more and have more wisdom than you. Once you put yourself in position to connect with the famous and powerful, the key is not to feel as if you're undeserving or an imposter. You are a star in your own right with your own accomplishments, and you have a whole lot to give to the world. Don't let someone who is more powerful make you forget the people who have been helping you for years. It is a great idea to find a powerful and influential person to be a mentor for you. Well, it is actually that. This is what I've left out. So yeah. I hope you've liked the episode. I've really, really enjoyed it. I think the talking part, especially the talking part today, was pretty good. But yeah, I'm going to record the other episode afterwards as well. So I wish you the best health of happiness and also success, and also hope that you're going to rise yourself and you're going to be remembered, which basically means your legacy, which basically means just being a good person, then also being remembered as a good person. And 3 other questions that I'm having for you are: why are you here? What are you trying to change? And what is bothering you the most? Ask yourself these questions. They are important. Really important. I'll see you. And please consider subscribing. I would appreciate that. I really would.